Hello everyone, Angelo here, homeless filmmaker in LA. Been living in my car for 14 months now. What the fuck happened with my haircut today? Oh my goodness, I asked for it short. The guy just did it, took the bib off and everything. Is like, alright, you're good. I'm like, what the fuck? He's not even gonna ask if I'm alright with it? I don't like it long like this and then short. I'd like it short all over. And so I was like, well, maybe I should go to another barber shop and get it fixed up. And I'm like, shit, I barely have money for that. It's gonna be like another 18 bucks. I'm like, just for cutting this a little bit. I'm like, oh, screw it, I'll live with it for now until I make some money. Been trying to think of a lot of good times with my dad, and which has been really nice to think about, because he's still, he passed away. It still, doesn't seem real at times, and but part of the reason it doesn't seem real is a good reason, which is my memories of him are so strong. It's like he's right there, and I'll always remember that. And I'm glad to hear my mom say he wasn't even suffering in the end. Like, he was happy, like he didn't have regrets. She was even panicking, saying, Marco, you can't leave and stuff. And he was like laughing. He's like, oh, come on, I've been around so long. Like, how can you worry about that? And, he said, I love you all. Those were his last words. And he heard me and was smiling. And his eyebrows were raised when I was, saying into the phone, I love him and stuff. We're all good. There's nothing negative. I'm proud of him. He can be proud of me. And, he's a good dad. And I was getting down sometimes, but then I was thinking, man, we had so many good times. I'm so glad, like, I went out of my way to film him and be with him. A lot of times off camera, you didn't see. And I showed him video when, I took my mom to the petting farm where she was holding baby goats, and he was laughing at that. We saw so many movies. I showed him Up, Born on the 4th of July, Sunrise, Song of Two Humans, the silent film, The Wrestler, Bringing Out the Dead, Pineapple Express, Dodsworth, what else? The Death of Stalin, we did the review of that, Dunkirk, Loving, 12 Years a Slave, so many others. It's hard to even remember them all. Silence, Last Temptation of Christ, many others, and all throughout my life, lots of memories. And I was thinking how, well, first of all, I remember, like, when I realized I had to calm down with him. I had so much angst and, anger and depression. And like 9 years ago, he fell, hit his head, he had a hematoma, and my mom wasn't trying to show panic, but she was like, well, this is serious, he's in the hospital. And I got so upset. I ran to the bathroom, put my hands on the sink, stared in the mirror, and looked like with anger at myself, like, oh my goodness, I've been so distant and cold to him. And he came right out of it, and it was fine. But like 80-year-old man. But I started realizing, oh, I gotta calm down, just let it go, just enjoy him, enjoy being with him. And I was thinking two things. One, I'm glad when I was wondering, did I do enough for him? Did I show him enough good times? When his older brother, had a stroke in 2009, and he stayed around another, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something. My dad wanted to go visit him in Cincinnati, and he asked me for $500 to go visit him. And he actually, so ridiculous, but it's fine. I'm glad I did. Who cares about the money? I think he said he got, my mail, my bank statements, and he opened it and not realizing it was mine, and saw my checking account balance. So he said, well, could I have some money? And sure, I went right to the bank, withdrew $500. My coworker was such a pain in the ass. I worked at a bank at the time. And, she's like, how would you like it? I said, just make it to go, like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. I know that doesn't seem that annoying of her. She was really fucking annoying. Anyways, so I gave that to my dad, and he got to visit his brother and stuff, and then his brother died a few weeks later. I think he had cancer as well. His brother also looked even better than my dad in a way, like toned skin. He was in his 80s, I think. Dark hair, smoked and drank every single day. He was a real racist too. The kind of congenial sort of Archie Bunker racist, but anyways, I won't speak too much ill of him, because he was nice to us. He said stuff that was like, even then, was like shocking for me. But I was glad I gave my dad $500 then. I gave him $1,500 once when I was, I think, about finishing my time when I was 20 years old working at a movie theater. He wanted it for my asshole brother to have a surgery that he could have waited for. It wasn't like emergency or anything. It was a corrective thing, and I won't get into what. Nothing. If you heard it, you'd be like, oh, okay, it's kind of, you know, it's fine. It was, you know, no major risks. I mean, there's always a risk, but and he said, well, you know, we could wait a few weeks for the insurance, but, you know, if you could give it to me and I'll pay you back. And he never did, but that's fine. You know, I know my dad wanted my brother to be well too, and so, you know, I'm glad I did stuff like that for him. And also, I was thinking how I was looking back and seeing which was my first video with my dad. I couldn't remember exactly. And hold on, let me take a thumbnail now. There we go. And I was looking at August 20th, 2012, video I shot of my parents reacting to Angry Grandpa. Now, that was so significant because I only filmed my dad and my mom because I wanted them both to be there to feel something normal when I had a relapse of my depersonalization, derealization disorder. I had no idea what it was at the time. I just thought, oh my goodness, I was in excruciating pain. You can't tell on the video. Look back at my videos. Angelo's parents react to Angry Grandpa or something. I'll link to it in the description. And I introduced my dad for the first time. I'm like, okay, well, people know my mom, and I barely had viewers back then, but I was like, and here's my dad. And they were both having fun talking about Angry Grandpa, and since then it's gotten a bunch of views. And I could only film for like 3 minutes. I was in such pain, and within a week and a half, I couldn't film anymore, except for one time in the next 8 months, because I was in such excruciating pain. I was disabled, I couldn't drive. I was having extreme, like, sensory issues. Like, that's why I couldn't drive. Extremely intrusive racing thoughts, extremely painful thoughts, and I just couldn't function. I couldn't sleep, I could barely watch TV, I could barely get on the computer, definitely couldn't work, couldn't maintain relationships with people, nothing. My parents had to care for me for the next 8 months. Excuse me. And I'm glad that it took that amount of pain for me to realize, oh, I should stop being so comfortable with where I was and start achieving more and doing more. So I filmed with my dad then. I filmed with my dad. The one day I sort of had a brief respite from this excruciating pain was in November 2012. And I took pictures of my dad watching the Marx Brothers. I think A Day at the Races was placing. I don't remember exactly. And I so took pictures of him. He took some pictures of me, and you can't tell I look sick from it. Like, you wouldn't even know. And I'm so glad I put those on Facebook at the time. It was the one day, it's like some anxiety kind of rocked itself out of me to where I was kind of just barely okay to film. And by that point, I thought I had to give up filmmaking. It was the worst decision in my life, the most excruciating decision in my life, to think I can't be a filmmaker anymore. I'm just in such pain. It's not possible. And the thought of trying to make films caused extreme pain in me, in my head. That's the sensory disorder, the anxiety disorder. But that one day, and I filmed a little review of him watching, I think it was A Day at the Races, and you can't tell how much pain I'm in when I was filming that. But I desperately wanted to film something to feel normal. So I guess that was my second video with my dad, and it was only after that, once I recovered, I started filming with him more and more, and I was so depressed and living in Dale and working jobs I hated, and lonely and confused, like, what the hell happened to me? Like, why did I go through that 9 months? And even as recently, I don't like how much I was complaining about it the last few months. You're letting it catch up to me as I didn't realize my dissociative disorder was coming back. And I feel like maybe I'm sort of recovering. It's shaking itself out of me. I'm not recovered yet, but I've got to be calm, got to be patient. When I feel like, no, I want to be myself again, I want to feel things again like I did, it sabotages me so bad. It causes such pain. It's like razors cutting at me inside. I have to let it go. And it's like, just trust those feelings will come back. The anxiety disorder will go away. And move a lot. I was, the reason I didn't film the last few days, I was just doing a lot of work helping someone. I just wanted to stay busy every day, like 14, 15 hours a day, helping them organize stuff, clean stuff, just working till I was absolutely exhausted and still feeling like shit a lot. but it was good to be around people. Got to sleep in someone's place for a few nights on the couch, and which I was glad to do, and especially when it was raining. And it's been a struggle, but it feels like it's sort of rocking its way out of me. And as that happens, then I feel more, I got in the shower at the gym today. I was just crying, and it's in the shower, it hits me. I don't know what it is. When it's like when things calm down, the emotions are raw in the morning. I have, nightmares about my dad, and about, him going, and I remember in 2005 when a guy I knew in college, sort of a friend. I mean, I knew him, I liked him, but he was more friends with my brother, who would bring him over to the house and hang out. And I was always so tired from my job. I would be watching a Mr. Show on DVD or something, and they'd be downstairs, and I was so tired I didn't feel like talking. I was like, you guys, have fun. I'll go upstairs and whatever. And he was killed. I felt really bad, and I remember I tried to just ignore it. Like, what can I do? Just, I was watching at the time, I think I was watching The Bridge on the River Kwai, which was one of the first movies I saw after I came out of my very first bout of this disorder, and I had no idea it was a disorder. I just thought it was hell on earth and God was torturing me or something. But I was watching it, enjoying it, and it just felt dirty, like to even be enjoying something. And the next morning, I cried in the shower. And same today, I was doing it, trying not to be too loud, and I wasn't sobbing uncontrollably, but, I'm thinking how glad I am that he was around so long. We kept him alive so long. I insisted with my mom, make him eat healthy, exercise. And I was thinking a few things. One, even though that last relapse I had was so excruciating, the worst pain in my life, just hell on earth, I'm glad I went through it for my dad. Because I realized I got to do more of the things I want in life, tell the stories I want, and that includes my dad, and be involved with him. And even after that, so, I'm glad, okay, did I give enough to my dad? Yeah, I gave a lot. I went to survive that 9 months of just pure terror, just pure pain, in a way to be better for my dad and mom and do more. Shortly after that, Tim's cook-off happened. I don't know if I would have had the courage before to submit that video to Tim's production company, and our video criticizing Tim's kitchen tips. And the other thing is, I was thinking, it sucked that I was working nights a lot. I was depressed, lonely, couldn't go out, didn't have much money. I'm just watching other people have fun all the time, can't talk about the stuff I love to do. And I was thinking, that wasn't just a big hole for me. I was actually glad that happened, because it allowed me to be there during the days. One, not only to film my mom, but also to film my dad, to be with my dad. I would a lot of times just go up to the room where he was lying down watching TV, and my mom would be like, oh, leave him alone, he's resting. I would go up, and usually he was up, and I would go talk to him and, hug him and stuff. And hang out, and sometimes film too, when my mom didn't want me to film. And I knew I wanted to. I knew I wanted to push to, because I knew I'd regret it if I didn't. Thank goodness, when I see those videos, I just laugh. Like, I'm so glad. And when I see old pictures of my dad, I don't have many pictures aside from the videos, but he has pictures at, or at my mom's house, but pictures I took really were the only ones where there were some I took from Thanksgiving 2012 when I was really sick and my dad wanted me to, and I was hurting so bad. I don't know where they are, if I still have them, but I'm not too worried about that. But the one of my dad with his thumbs up in front of the Marx Brothers movie, it just makes me so happy to see it. And knowing, okay, my dad didn't have fear, he didn't have pain, he wasn't, infirmed. He's 88 years old, and he was still walking around and doing what he liked, and that's amazing. And so I was thinking how glad I am. I used to think that these two things, both working a night job and my 9 months of disability, were just big empty holes in my life that made me angry that I went through. I'm thinking, well, I couldn't quite see how much it meant to go through that, to become a little better, to become a better person, a better filmmaker, better storyteller, and working nights. I regretted it, like, I couldn't be home with my dad to hang out a lot of times. Not always, but, and I always thought, there'll be another time to see him. But I'm so glad I was able to be around during the day. So when he needed stuff, I was able to do it. When my brother attacked me, I was taking care of my dad. When I got him arrested, my brother arrested. And even then, after that, I kept coming back to the house during the day when I was working nights, absolutely exhausted, barely able to sleep 3 or 4 hours a night for the next year after my disorder. And even as I was recovering, still going to my dad's house, doing that, making videos, working videography. Oh, I remember I got so sick one day with a cold, and we had to drive to New York, and my client called me and said, Angelo, are you able to go to New York today? And I was like, he could hear how sick I was. And he was like kind of giving me light pressure to go. He's like, Angelo, if you're too sick to go, don't go, although we need you. I said, I'll go. And man, I was miserable that whole drive there, and being there, I was sneezing. And he's like, Angelo, if you need to blow your nose, it's rude to do it here. Step outside. So I did. Yeah, it's true. He was right. I was, oh my goodness. And I was exhausted and just hating all the fat on my body and stuff after I didn't exercise for 9 months. By the way, I exercised well today. I want to really, really maintain my health, eat healthy. So yeah, I used to think these were just big holes in my life that made me angry, and now I'm like, well, no. I mean, yeah, everything sort of makes me angry in a way and gives me angst, but you know, that's part of also what made things so good for me, in that I was able to be there for my dad and do things like take him to his colonoscopy appointment, take him for his kidney biopsy, which turned out fine, thank goodness. He didn't have any major cancer or anything. Took him to doctor's appointments, took him out to stuff. I was able to take him to movies, knew it was important too, and just was around during the day so much with my mom too, to film with her and then see my dad there. While, you know, most other people are working during the day. And I didn't quite get that. I didn't get that. I couldn't get it. And so I'm still working through this disorder now, and it still kind of feels like it's shaking itself out of me. I got to be patient and keep moving. Just keep moving. I was getting such goosebumps last night, feeling like this poison is slowly leaving my pores almost, this disorder, after just moving so much the last 4 days, helping this friend out. Exhausted. I mean, working like 14, 15 hours a day till like I was falling asleep when my leg would hit the ground, and I was like, you know, wanting to lean over and just lie down. And I was thinking, man, I was feeling so shitty yesterday. The disorder's acting up. I'm like, what the fuck? Is it getting better or worse? And just accepting it and panicking. And even now I want to panic. And then just feeling this thing like, oh, okay, like this goosebumps coming over me, like I was getting better. I was almost worried, like, is this a heart problem or what? But I know it's this anxiety working its way through me, and I still feel it. And as I was doing that, I was at the Sun Space last night. I was working on a video there, and when that video's up eventually, I'll make a video about it and link to it. But and I was just hanging out. There was a jazz concert there, and I was in the front of the house just watching if anyone wanted to buy drinks. I was volunteering, and as I was getting these goosebumps and these sensations and feeling good memories of Dad, I was thinking, I got to keep moving, get this anxiety out of me, walk around, do push-ups on this little stool that was there so I wasn't all the way on the ground, do chair dips, keep moving. Went to sleep, woke up, keep moving. Worked out today at the gym early in the morning. Not that early. I got there like 6:30, 6:45. But that's pretty good, actually, I'd say, for most people. But normally, before this disorder, I would get up at 5 in the morning and get there. And it's still annoying, the people there. I still want to fucking just work out at home. But that's okay. Keep pushing through it. I can't believe I've been homeless for 14 months. I had to prove to myself I could do this. I had to, like, complete this task of showing I'm resilient enough to do it. So I'm still in the disorder, still not quite myself, but getting better, knowing I need to move more, remembering all the great times with my dad, being so happy for him, and being happy I had him. And I still have him. He's still in me, and I can watch the videos. And man, the disorder is keeping me from feeling a lot worse right now in a way. Before, I would have been just shattered. I don't know how I could function. Now it's like it's hitting me in waves, but I can also be very glad and, you know, rebuild myself and know that he was good. Like, thank goodness he didn't die a miserable death. He didn't have, you know, massive fears or anger or anything at the end. He was just good. He was carefree. He just took it day by day, as always, you know. I remember even in my relapse in 2012 and 13, my depersonalization disorder, I was in intense pain. I could not cope with anything. Everything was hurting. So I was sitting there, and my dad was accompanying me during the day, and I was telling, I couldn't even watch TV. It was so painful. And I was telling him, please, Dad, you can't die, you know, like, or nothing can happen to you right now. I need you right now. I love you. You know, you're my joy. And he was laughing. He's like, oh, Angelo, I'm going to be around for a while. And he was, thank goodness. And we really kept him healthy. If it wasn't for us, you know, he wouldn't have had reason to stay healthy. He would have lost the will to live a long time ago and just given up on life. But he was really glad to have us, and so happy, and smiled when he saw me and hugged me, and I'm just glad for all that, and trying not to be hard on myself, because I always am, no matter what. Even with my mom, I'm like, oh, I feel bad, you know, when I move on with my own life after I see her, even if I spend half the day with her. I would be like, oh, I feel a little guilty. Now I'm going off to the stuff I really want to do in a way. But it's like, how much could I do? I do so much with my mom. It always feels like never enough that you do, you know, for parents. So my mom's being really brave, extremely brave. She's hurting, she's lonely, but you know, she's being well too. I was really worried how she would take this, and I know it's horrible, you know. I hate thinking of my mom hurting, but again, thinking of the good times, and I've got to work to recover myself and be my old self in a way, be the person I want to be, not just my old self, but keep moving forward, better, improved, work on my screenplays. I'm still not quite there yet where the emotions don't quite congeal, sort of, but it's improving. I feel like it's getting there. I have to trust and have confidence I am. Otherwise, I'll make myself miserable with anxiety. And just keep moving, exercising. Remember how happy Dad was for me, and that, you know, we can have no regrets in a way. Yeah, we used to argue and stuff or whatever, but just that things were good. Like, he was so glad for me, and I was glad for him and glad to see him, and I don't want to betray those good memories by only focusing on the negative, like, oh, I can't do anything else for him, I can't do, well, that's to ignore all the good times we had, and he wouldn't want me worrying about that. He was so glad for me. So just got to keep moving and be brave, and I want to get my mom out to LA whenever we can, and it's going to be a little while, obviously. Now there's a lot of stuff she's got to deal with, and yeah, just keep moving forward. She's looking forward to going back to work, and it's Christmas break now, but going back to work and have a distraction and be around more people. Right now she's got people coming over and stuff and keeping her company and giving her some good times, and she can't use a smartphone or anything other than to dial and pick up, so she doesn't even know how to save contacts or use a text message. So I'll send pictures of where I am to someone else to show her, or like video to show her, and she really appreciates that, so she gets to see what I'm doing out here. So yeah, I'm glad to remember, okay, I did do stuff with my dad, because I was like freaking out, worrying like, oh my goodness, did I do enough? But I went out of my way to. And I went through so much pain to be able to. How many people would ever want to live through that pain? You know, believe me, you would not want to. That disorder I had that was disabling. Imagine having your life, maybe have a spouse or something, or a partner, a good job or whatever, and then all of a sudden you get so mentally out of it, you can hardly almost even recognize the person or feel anything for them, but you have this aching that you know you want to, and to feel anything good about your life. I can't explain how horrific it was, and like I said, I was disabled. I was pacing 23 hours a day for one particular month of it. It was excruciating. When you pace 23 hours a day, you wonder, like, will I ever stop? Will I just be like this the rest of my life? It was horrific. So painful. I could barely swallow food, barely shower, take care. It was just horrific. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought my life is over. I had to give everything up. It was the worst pain of my life to do that. And somehow I came back after 9 months. So, you know, imagine not being yourself. So it's like you lost your identity. And somehow I went through all that, and where other people couldn't. And went through it for my dad and came out better for him, and my mom, and myself. So, yeah, appreciate it, everyone. Now I gotta somehow keep making money. I'm so broke, and keep doing stuff, and my disorder's still, you know, playing tricks on me sometimes, playing games on me, but just keep moving forward, relaxing, let the anxiety out of me. So anyways, for my dad, thanks everyone for watching. Stay tuned for more, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Gonna keep a lot more coming.